Thank you for joining us. We are back. I like that dress, by the way.
Thank you.
You look beautiful.
I like your shirt.
Thank you.
You look handsome.
Thank you. I'm going to jot that down. Here we go. Anyways, well, thank you for joining us. This is episode 2 of our series titled Again and Again. It was kind of interesting that we just talked about that because today we're talking about relationships.
We're in a relationship. If you guys didn't know.
Yes, we are. She is luckier than I am.
It's Facebook official.
JK. It is. We're married.
We're married.
Holy cow, this is so good.
This is your first time here. Well, we've been married for 11 years.
11 years. 11
We didn't
years.
just get married.
No.
We're glad that you're here. If you've never joined us before, you're welcome here. We want you to stick with us through this message. Our hope is that you'll feel encouraged, that you'll feel loved, that you will feel like you found a place to belong. And yeah.
Well, and here's the deal too. If you have missed any of our messages, they're across all of our social media at Agape Online Church. That's YouTube, that's Instagram, that's Facebook. Did we miss anything else? Website,
just add a .com on the end of that.
.com. Agape Online Church .com. We must be in a relationship with each other. Just saying.
Last week we talked about, we're in the second week of our series called Again and Again. Last week we talked about our physical health and the importance of taking care of our bodies, sleeping, drinking water, exercising, eating good foods.
Taking vitamins.
Taking supplements.
Yeah. Yes.
Because we need to be ready for what God has for us, right? He has a purpose for our life. He's given us this body. It's a gift. Our life is a gift. Every breath is a gift. And we got to use it to glorify Him. We got to use it to love other people. And we need to feel good and have energy in order to do that.
That's right.
This week, we are talking about relationships.
Relationship habits.
Habits, yes, that we get into in our relationships.
Good or bad.
Yeah.
Oof, man.
Like all the weeks of the series, the reality is that we all have habits when it comes to these different things, right? That's why we title it Again and Again, because we do things again and again. And those are either good things or bad things. We're going to reap what we sow. It says that in Galatians chapter 6, that we reap what we sow. And so if we want a healthy body, we have to do the healthy things in order to get it. You don't just wake up like that, right? You want a healthy marriage, a healthy relationship with your mom, a healthy friendship, healthy neighbor friendship, whatever you want to call it.
Shout out neighbors. We love you.
You have to do the healthy things. You don't just, it doesn't just appear in your life, right? You weren't just given the perfect husband like I was. Just kidding, guys. He's definitely not perfect.
Dude, you know, that's true. It's true. It's true.
Anyway, you have to work at these things. If you want a healthy marriage, healthy any relationship, you have got to do the healthy things again and again and again and again. We think that because of we just like talked about something one time, like we did, like, you know, the premarital counseling before we got married, that's it. We check it off the box. We're good now. We're going to have a great marriage.
Didn't work for us.
Didn't work for anybody.
I know.
Didn't work for anybody.
The hardest thing in that is you feel like you have the same conversation with whoever it may be, right? For us, we talk about the same things over and over again, and you're like, okay, are we getting anywhere? Right? You think about it. It's so interesting how we are so forgetful and how we don't actually want to implement something to improve a relationship.
Right.
Whatever that may be, it's so difficult, right?
It's uncomfortable. Right?
It's uncomfortable, and you know, Monica struggles with this more than I do. It is what it is, right?
Here's the deal. We're going to break this down into a couple of categories because there are different habits that we may have that we don't realize we have when it comes, and there's like so many things when it comes to relationships, right? Every relationship has like 1,000 variables. Nobody's relationship is the same. No person is the same. Nobody has the same history. That nobody has the same history as your spouse and you, right? We've all been through unique, different things in our lives. Yeah. So all of our lives are going to look very different. We all have different purpose in our lives. So our lives are going to look very different, right? We're all part of the body of Christ. And so all of our relationships with every person is going to look different, right? My relationship with my mom looks different than the relationship with my husband, hopefully, right?
Oh my word, dude. My goodness. I hope.
My relationship with each one of my kids is different than each one of them, right? Because they're different people and they require different things from us. And the way that you interact with certain people is going to be different than the way that you interact with other people. But there are few things that are going to remain constant, right? Because here's the deal. Why are we even talking about this? Because it's important to God. God created us to be in community with other people. His greatest commandment that he, when the disciples asked, what is the greatest command? Not even the disciples, it was the religious leaders asked him, what is the greatest commandment of all the commandments? What's the most important thing? And he said, it's to love God and to love others, right? You need to love God with all your heart, and you need to love your neighbor as you love yourself. Like,
that's it.
That's all that there is, right? And so if you're loving others, you have to be in community with them, right? It tells us in Genesis chapter 2 that solitude, being alone, that was the first problem that ever came up when God was creating the earth. It's the first problem he ever spoke of. He said that everything was good, everything was great when he created the heavens and the earth and the water and the sky and everything else, light and dark and animals and all of it. He kept saying, it is good, it is good, it is good, everything is great. And then he said, oh, the man that I created is alone. That is not good, right? That's the first time he spoke of any kind of a problem on this earth, was that man was alone. And so he created a helper for him, right? He said that is not good to be alone. No. In Hebrews chapter 10, it says that we should not give up in meeting with one another. In Mark chapter 12, it says, Jesus says to love your neighbor as yourself. In John 15, it says, love each other as I have loved you. No greater love than laying down your life for a friend, right? That's a sacrificial kind of love, not just I love that guy, he's great, right? It's a sacrificial type of love. Galatians chapter 6, it says carry each other's burdens, right? That's a relationship. Ooh. That's a meaningful relationship where it's not just, oh yeah, we have fun, we go to the movies together, we go shopping. It's carrying each other's burdens. Like, oh yeah, I sat with her through her illness. I sat with her when she lost her husband, right? I helped her out when she lost her job and couldn't afford to buy groceries, right? All of these things. It says to carry each other's burdens, to be in meaningful relationships with each other. It says wherever two or more are gathered, God is there. That's powerful, right? He's there. He thinks it's so powerful that two people are together, that he's there. That's right? Wherever you are, he's there. That's church. The list goes on and on and on and on throughout the Bible, right? He thinks it's important for us to be in relationships with one another.
Wow.
And basically what it comes down to, like that's what our core beliefs are here at Agape, right? That we are all humans that are flawed. We're not capable of living a life of perfection, right? And a huge part of that is just being humble, being vulnerable, being able to bear with one another in love, like scripture tells us to do, right? We know that we're not perfect. We know that you're not perfect. And you know what? We're going to love each other anyway. That's what we do here, because that's what God called us to do. So how do we do that?
Well, we're going to start right off the bat. Let's break that down. I'll tell you, probably the hardest thing is forgiveness. That will solve all your problems
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to relationships.
Not all of them.
Majority of them.
But a lot of them.
A lot of them.
Not all of them. We got 3 things that you do all of these things.
True. Then you got it.
Then you're gonna solve your problems.
Hey, that's true.
Until
that's
the
true.
next
We're
problem
hoping, right? We hope this. This is just we say these things because this is kind of what we've had to walk through on this journey called life, following Jesus. One of the crucial aspects for me that is so hard is forgiveness. Like I struggle with this. I don't think Monica, we all struggle with it, but it's just easier for some people.
Mm-hmm.
It's harder for me. It really is.
Yeah.
For Monica, it's a lot easier. So I have to rest on her when it comes to this,
Mm-hmm.
like getting help and guidance from her. Forgiveness is so tough. And forgiveness is in every relationship.
Right.
Doesn't matter what it is. Whether somebody, a good friend forgot to get you a gift or whatever, something silly like that. There's something within, right? At the core of our soul, it's like our heart and soul, when it aches, when it comes to relationships, we have to peel it back and figure out why.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why is this bothering me? And forgiveness is key. It's one of the key components to following Jesus, right? I mean, because he forgives us over and over and over again.
We all have habits when it comes to forgiveness, right?
I'm still working on this, especially with my counselor. Like,
right.
It's just one of those things. I wish I could just be like, oh yeah, we're good. Yeah. Like at my core, I want to be like that, but there's just layers of junk on top of it. That's like, no, I got to distance myself. I can't. I've been burnt. Burnt. And you've probably been burnt too.
Right. And part of this, I think, is as a human, we have these natural instincts to want to protect ourselves, right? We have survival skills. We have these. And so it's like you get hurt by somebody and you're going to want to push the brakes, right?
Yep.
Which is okay. Here's the deal. A lot of us confuse. This is one of the main things I want you to get about forgiveness too. A lot of us confuse forgiveness with reconciliation. So you can forgive somebody and not be in relationship with them. And that might sound foreign to you or weird or like, have you really forgiven them? Yeah, but it doesn't mean that you need to be in relationship with them. You need to ask yourself, why are you not in relationship with them, right? Like, is it an abusive situation? Is it even somebody that you know, right? Like, for instance, maybe you were hit by a drunk driver. You don't even know that person, but you can forgive them. And that doesn't mean you need to be friends with them. Like, you don't even know who they are, right? But you can have forgiveness. And what that looks like is in your heart and your mind, you're praying for that person, right? Man, I hope that person gets the help that they need. I hope that they never feel the need to drive drunk again. I hope that they, if they have a drinking problem, that they get it figured out. I pray that this doesn't completely ruin their lives, right? Non-forgiveness looks like, hate that guy, hope his life is ruined forever, hope he rots in jail, right? Like, there's a big difference in that. Does it mean that you need to go be friends with him? Absolutely not, right? No. If you're in an abusive relationship and you decide, you know what, I cannot be in this any longer because it's not healthy for my mental state. It's not healthy for my body. It's not healthy for my soul, right? That's perfectly healthy and it's great to set boundaries. But you can forgive them, right? You can say, man, I forgive this person that's been abusing me. I hope that they get their anger issues figured out. I hope that they go to counseling and they figure out their trauma and their past abuses. I hope that they live a better life because they're clearly not happy. They don't have any joy. They, have this seed of evil in their heart, right? I hope that they can move forward and have a more fulfilling life. That's what forgiveness looks like. The opposite would be, once again, hate that guy. Right. Hope he gets caught and rots in jail. Yeah. Karma will get him. Like, all of those things. That's what the absence of forgiveness looks like, right? That's right. It's wishing someone well and praying for their soul to be renewed, right? Renewed, sure. And for that to be good and for their lives to be wonderful and have fulfillment. So often we think that it just means, I forgive them, so we'll just go back to the way things used to be. And that's not the way that it has to go, right? You have to do what's healthy for you in your life. And what's not healthy for you in your life is to say, hate that guy, hope karma gets him, hope he rots in jail, right? That plants a seed of anger and bitterness in your heart that will hold you hostage, right? That's a habit that a lot of us have, right? Holding a grudge, feeling angry, feeling like there are so many people on your list that you want to get back, right? Like revenge, all of those things are things that are going to harm you far more than they're going to harm the other person. And I'll tell you this, if that person does get whatever you think they deserve, it doesn't feel good. Like it's not going to make your life better. It's not going to do anything for you, right? Jesus tells us that we're to forgive because we've been forgiven.
That's right.
And when you can get in the habit of recognizing that we're all flawed human beings, that none of us are capable of a life of perfection, that you want forgiveness from other people, well, then you have to extend it as well, right?
So true.
You get into the habit of that and your relationships will feel fulfilling. They'll feel lighter. You'll feel like you don't have that burden, right? You're going to feel joy in your heart. You're going to have freedom from anger and bitterness. You're going to have freedom to love people unconditionally and wholeheartedly because you're not guarding yourself from everything in this world.
So true. Forgiveness of people in your past will allow you to have a more fulfilling relationships in the future. Right. You'll be able to trust people and be present with people. Withholding forgiveness will destroy you. It really will, not the other person.
Right. Absolutely.
I know it sounds kind of weird, but that's the truth. You are allowing them to rob you of your joy.
Right.
Forgiveness, man, you gotta do it over and over again and again and again.
You have to be in the habit, if you want fulfilling, healthy relationships, you have to be in the habit of forgiveness, right? And this is for your spouse, this is for your parents, this is for your children, this is for your neighbor, your best friend, right? For the people you don't even know, right? We have to be in the habit of forgiveness. If you want healthy and fulfilling relationships, you have to get in the habit of generosity.
Oh, I like that.
Who loves being friends with stingy people?
Oh, dude, let's raise our hands. Dude, nobody. Dude, nobody,
Who loves
dude.
being married to a stingy person? Nobody.
How many of you guys know stingy people? Raise your hand. Monica? We do not. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
It's not fun.
No.
Not fun to be around.
No.
It's not fun to be. It's not fun. Like, it's pretty cliche to say, but like what is it? I don't even know how to say it now. It's better to give than to receive. That's what I was going to say. Yes.
It sounds so, right? It's
giving like, gifts is more fulfilling than getting gifts, right? All of those things. But it's so true. There's so much truth to it.
You know what's so interesting too, when you hear the word generosity, majority of us, I would say, think of money, right? But here's the reality. You could be generous with your encouragement. You could be generous with your praise. You could be generous with your time, love, stuff, wisdom. Like, dude, just don't be stingy and negative.
Right.
Debbie Downer. Sorry if your name's Debbie. Like that, I didn't come up with that. I wish it would be a different name because I know some Debbies, and they're not Downers. But I mean, you think about it. It's just crazy. This saying has always stuck with me. And Monica, I thought she was going to say, "Oh no," because she probably knows what I'm about to say.
You've already said it like 90.
You know, like stingy broke, stingy rich, right? Like it just is what it is. The world of the generous gets larger and larger. The world of the stingy gets what? Smaller and smaller. That's scripture right there. That's crazy. You think about just relationships in general and think about the people that you just truly enjoy being around. They're all generous in some capacity with what I just said, right? Encouraged. They're just so encouraging with their words. Compliments, hugs,
right?
Their ears to listen to you, time. Like, oh man, it's a powerful thing. We need to be generous.
Yeah. These aren't the people who are coming into your life to see what they can get from you, right? They come into your life and their mindset is, what can I add to your life, right? And if we all did that, how wonderful would our relationships be? Like, think about your marriage, right? If every day I woke up and I thought, like, how can I just make Chris smile today? How can I make his life better? Instead of waking up and thinking, wonder what Chris is going to do for me today. Wonder if I'm going to, like...
Dude.
And what if we both
practice? Can we practice that tomorrow?
What if we both...
Oh, I do. No, I do.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
And why are you so defensive right now?
No, to be honest, I try my best but I have to be intentional because I will just be like, nah.
Well, and I'll share this too. Like in the beginning of our relationship, because I think for a long time his habit was, let me see what I can do so I can get what I want, and he's had to over the years like guard himself against that habit, right? And that's about growing and changing and like having healthy relationships is like it's figuring out what you're doing and then changing your habits, changing the course of your habits, because your mind, it just goes that way, right?
Yeah.
So in the beginning of our marriage, it was like, well, I'm going to do this, this, and this for Monica because then she'll do this, this, and this for me. And then he would be upset if he didn't get what he thought he was going to get, right?
It didn't work out. Yeah.
I'll tell you guys what he thought he was going to get. It's very inappropriate. You can take a guess.
Dinner?
Yeah, dinner. Dinner.
So good.
And we all have our things like that, right? And it can be a habitual thought process,
right?
A habit of your heart, a habit of your mind, right? That you don't even realize you're doing. And now I can say, like, he genuinely just is like, man, this will make her life easier. This will make her smile, right? So I'm going to put her coffee cup out for her in the morning so that she, whatever, make it easier for her.
Yeah. What do you do for me?
See, habits die hard, guys. Die hard.
He's still working on it. I'm still working on it.
Still working on it.
That's so good because she's going to answer it. Oh, that's so good. No, you know what really, over the course of the years, it just takes time, right? Yeah. Doing it again and again and recognizing what you are doing again and again and again. The verse that always comes up to me, like, I mean, Jesus, he came down to earth to serve, not to be served. To earth. I don't even know. Did I say that wrong? Earth. To earth. To serve, not to be served. That is our leader. That is who he is, and that's who we need to be. And there's no better way of doing it than just being generous and always replaying it in your head. Like, okay, what can I do again and again, over and over again? And it comes back to just be generous with your words, be generous with your hands. Like, what can you do to help? Like in any capacity.
When really you have two people in a relationship together who are both generous with their selves, right? It's a beautiful thing, and it's an awesome relationship that's very fulfilling for both people, right? Yeah. Very fulfilling, glorifies God in every way. It's just a good thing that feels good, right?
This is the last thing we'll talk about, like when it comes to this point, generosity. We've been blessed and we have the honor of catching this from so many different people and couples. We don't actually have to be taught this. We were taught this, but we have caught it, meaning we've watched people do this over and over again and been so consistent. It's just not this thing they do. It's who they are. They are just generous, and they have shown us how to be generous in so many ways, so many different capacities.
Well, and like every habit in life, you have to be reminded daily, right?
Always.
Because it's easy to fall back into the old habits. And so it's like continuing to hang out with people who do put this on display, right? Continuing to be around people who you want to be like, right? Because it reminds you, oh yeah, I forgot. I want to be like that. I want to be joyful. I want to be loving. I want to be generous, right? I want to do all of these things. I want to exude happiness and love for the people around me. And when you see other people doing it, it's contagious, you guys. Like, generosity is contagious.
Absolutely.
Joy and love is contagious, right? Just like negativity is. And one is way more fulfilling than the other. I'll let you figure that one out.
Oh. I'll tell you this. Monica knows this about me. I run from negativity.
Yeah.
Like, to me, it's like a cancer in my life where it eats me up. Like, yeah, I stiff arm. Just, I don't want nothing to do with that. I'll walk on out. I can't stand it because what good is it, right?
Right.
What good is that's another series, negativity. Right. We should do that. Series called Negativity. Just don't be negative. Holler at your boy. Holler at your boy.
Lastly, we're going to talk about communication habits, right? So we talked about forgiveness habits. We've talked about the habits of generosity, and now the habits of communication. You cannot have a relationship without communication. There's no such thing.
Good or bad. There's no such thing.
There's no such thing. Like, if you've never communicated with somebody, you cannot say that you are in a relationship with them. You had to have at least said hello to somebody to say, that's my friend, right? Or whatever it is. There's absolutely no such thing as having a relationship void of communication.
Communication is the hardest thing. It really is. Because there's an art form to it. Mm-hmm. You have to understand where they're coming from. And you have to understand the approach you want to have to any conversation, right? I will highly recommend this. Don't have an agenda, right? Either way. Yeah. Most of the time, I come to the plate when we're about ready to go eye for eye with my wife. I usually have an agenda, right? The times I don't have an agenda and I just come and I say, hey, this is what I'm thinking. Mm-hmm. What are you thinking? And I actually hear her and don't get defensive and understand where she's coming from. Holy moly, it changes everything. Mm-hmm. And in any relationship that I have where communication, there's no defensiveness, there's nothing like no pre-agenda. Mm-hmm. Man, it is unbelievable where the conversation can go. I mean, it is truly unbelievable. The conversation can be so deep. Absolutely. And there's no I mean, the hardest thing nowadays is everyone has an opinion, right? Guess what? Everyone had an opinion back in the day, but now they think it's a fact. Right. I think my opinion's a fact when Monica's like, yeah, that's stupid, right? I mean, and there's nothing wrong with opinions, but don't lose relationships over that. Because somebody thinks different than you think. Yeah. Like, I mean, I can't believe how divisive we have gotten over the weirdest things. Yeah. Like, if you step back and you think about why you're not friends with somebody, it's because of their political view, their what? I mean, so many views. They eat the wrong thing.
They're not vaccinated, or they are vaccinated.
Not vaccinated. Like, we're getting real now. Yeah. We're starting to talk about stuff now, right? If you think about those things, it's like, what does that have to do with love? Yeah. Right? What does that got to do with love? Like, can you communicate in love, and can you take it, and what you hear, can it be love?
So many of us in this world today, and the way that that society is, the way the culture is, like, all of it, most of the time we start almost every single conversation with an agenda, right? We start every conversation with, by the end of this, I want this person to think the way I think, right? And if they don't, done with them, right?
How bizarre.
I'm going to kind of go off on a thing, hopefully.
Go.
Don't get mad at me for this, but...
Oh, dude, is it involve me?
No.
Okay,
no, just
go for
people.
It. Just people.
Okay,
go
so
I'll have
I've had conversations with people about, so public schools are going to start teaching kids about transgender things and LGBTQ community and all of these things. And so many people are so angry about this, right? So many Christian people are so angry about this. and are saying, we can't put our kids in public schools. They can't be teaching our kids this. They're innocent. They're filling their minds with this and that and the other thing. And we have such an agenda when it comes to this, right? And here's the reality. Like, there's a really solid chance that your kids are going to have somebody in their class who is transgender, who might be gay, who might be anything that's different from them, right? And you would prefer that they're sheltered from that, so that then they're going to come home and they're going to say, oh, this kid is in my class, they're weird. Like, you want them to pick on the kids, to not understand who they are, to put their agenda of what they think is right and wrong above this human being in their class, right? Or maybe it's going to be your kid, right? Or maybe it's whatever. Like, we tend to not put love in our communication above our agendas, right? Ooh. We want to protect and shelter and do all of these things, and we forget that all of these people around us are human beings, and we have to know what is going on in the world, what kind of humans there are out here that are maybe different from you, and we have to be able to love them all, because God has called us to love one another as we love ourselves, a sacrificial kind of love, not the kind of love that says my agenda is more important than you as a human being. And if your kids can't understand what other kind of lifestyles there are, how are they ever going to love somebody that looks different from them?
That's right.
How?
That's right.
And that's what we're called to do. We're called to love one another. And in order to do that, we have to be able to communicate with one another in a respectful, loving way. And if your agenda is more important than your love for a person, you cannot communicate in a respectful and loving way. No. That is true in marriage. It is true for our kids in school. It is true for us and our parents, and for us as parents. You have to be able to communicate. And in order to do that, you have to listen more than you speak. You have to let go of your expectations and your agendas. And you just have to be able to get to know people and to hear them. And you have to, it kind of was a major sidebar note, sorry about that. But in a relationship, especially in your marriage, but all relationships, you have to continue to do this again and again and again, right? We have to continue talking about things again and again and again. Chris and I are different people than we were 11 years ago when we got married. And if we had never had meaningful conversations again since then, we would have been like this, right? We would have been like, I don't even know who you are anymore. What's going on? But because we have meaningful conversations all of the time, on a weekly basis at least, I'm sure there's days or so that go by where it's like we don't talk about anything meaningful. But for the most part, we're constantly communicating and saying, well, this is how I feel about this now. It's different than how I felt 10 years ago, right? It's different than how I felt 5 years ago. I've told this story lots of times, but my grandparents, when they were alive, they had been married for a long time, and they watched Hollywood Squares every single night. Right? I don't know if you remember that show. I don't know if it's even still on. But there was a show called Hollywood Squares, and they would watch it every night. And eventually one of them finally said, do you even like this show? Neither one of them liked it. They thought that the other person liked it. They were like, can we watch something different? Yeah, I don't even like the show. Yeah, neither do I. Why are we watching it every night? Years went by. We're
talking years.
And they watched a show that neither one of them liked for so long, because neither one of them ever spoke of it and said, I don't like the show. Do you like the show? How silly is that, right? And that's how it is with us, more important things than that, right? And all of a sudden we wake up one day and we're like, yeah, my marriage isn't what I want it to be. It's just, there's nothing there, nothing going on. I'm bored. I don't know. So many things happen.
Yeah.
And we think that it's just because we weren't given the perfect husband or the perfect wife, right? We weren't given a best friend like that girl has. Our parents weren't that great. Our kids don't do whatever it is, right? We think it's all just been handed to us. And that's not true, right? We have to do the things. We have to humble ourselves. We have to be generous. We have to be forgiving. We have to communicate. We have to look at people as people. We have to try to listen and understand our spouses and our friends and all of these things. And we have to be generous with our encouragement to them, and to try to be close to them and have deep conversations with them, right? You want to have deep, meaningful, healthy relationships. You have to have deep, meaningful, healthy habits. You have to do these things again and again and again. You have to forgive again. You have to communicate again and again. You have to be generous again and again and again. You have to create habits around all of these things that are healthy and good and that glorify God.
That's right. That's right. We're going to pray for you guys. Let's do it. God, we thank you for who you are. Keep showing us how to do things again and again and again. Lord, we thank you for relationships. Allow us to be great listeners. Allow us to communicate effectively and not get so defensive. Lord, you've called us to do one thing. Love people, love you. Lord, allow us to go out this week and do this. We thank you so much for this time, this community. We thank you for this world that we live in. We say this in Jesus' name. Amen. Man, we hope you guys have a wonderful week. We hope that you got a couple nuggets out of this where you can go and just improve your relationships.
Right.
I want to tell you guys this right now. Over communicate. It's a beautiful thing. I love you, baby.
I love you.
We love you guys. Take care.